As an integrative and longevity medicine specialist, I get a lot of questions about supplements and how to think about supplementation. Today we're going to be talking to Marcus Institute Medical Director, Dr. Anthony Bazzan, about the 3 phases of supplementation: rescue, stabilization, and maintenance. So I'm here with Dr. Anthony Bazzan, Medical Director of Thomas Jefferson University's Marcus Institute of Integrative Health. He's an expert on longevity medicine, which is why I wanted to talk to you today, Dr. Bazzan, about the role of supplements and a longer life, since you're one of my original mentors on the subject. And I get the question all the time from patients and people online: what supplements should I take? Should I take supplements? When do I know I need supplements? Can you help us think through this mystical world of supplements, when they make sense, and when you, as a physician in integrative and longevity health, make the decision to give somebody supplements?
Certainly. Always a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Monti. This is a big topic. So, as you well said, let's think through it a little. So, as a physician, the first thing we ask ourselves is, what is the condition of the person that we are discussing, right? So most times when people talk about supplements, they talk about, or they think about, the general population. Well, that's one thing. But for us physicians, we have to get a little more granular than that. And then we go into categories of where the person is. For instance, if you're pregnant, you need a prenatal vitamin.
So you need a prenatal vitamin because there's increased demand?
Increased demand for metabolism, because not only is the mom to be, does she have to maintain her own body, but she has to build the body of the newborn. You know, the fetus is being built. And so there's an increase there. There may be more nutritional needs when she's breastfeeding, right? Now, if we go to the category of elderly, how many times the elderly are malnourished because their gastrointestinal system is no longer working.
So they're not absorbing nutrients efficiently from food.
Exactly, and that's common. Or it can even get worse, and when they are institutionalized, such in nursing homes, is a common problem. It's very well known.
Malnutrition.
And then there are medical conditions, like for instance, if someone has a gastrointestinal disease which is combined with chronic inflammation, that is something that puts you in a very different category than the general population. There are instances of people that had gastric surgery, people that had surgery for obesity.
So basically, deficiency states, right. You're supplementing somebody who's deficient. What about you're not in one of those overt deficiency states? Right. Then how do you think about supplements?
So we go back to what we said in the beginning, and we look at what the person is that we are discussing, what their level of nutrition, level of health are. So once we do their medical intake and we do the blood work and we do, happily now, we have a lot of very sophisticated tests that can reveal to us the subtler levels of nutritional insufficiencies or sufficiency, or, and one by one, a lot of reactions, like, the state of the Krebs cycle. For instance, one of our nutritional tests has 5 different categories. One is oxidative stress. What does that mean? That answers the question, how fast are you rusting? Right? Because we need to burn, otherwise we're dead. But there is a difference between a fireplace and a fire in a house, which is inflammation out of control. So that has a lot to do with nutrition. And this is where everybody understands by the name of antioxidants, because there are free radicals that are pro-oxidants. So oxidative stress is very related to your type of nutrition.
So in that kind of a person, they might not have deficient levels of certain things, but they might need extra antioxidants just because of the state of their physiology.
Yes. And the test that shows us that. The next thing they look at is mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are those tiny cells that made a deal with us 2 billion years ago, and they say, okay, we're going to come and live with you, and we're going to provide you with energy. And this is how, how do you know you have the best mitochondria in the planet? You just won the Olympics. Everybody knows your name. How do you know you don't have enough mitochondria? You don't, because you did. So the lower the mitochondria, the more the disease, the more the aging, and the more the dysfunctionality and all that stuff. So, and we check for that.
And so nutrition supports mitochondrial function.
And then fats. Fats, people should understand whatever fat you eat, you become.
Like from fried foods,
Yes.
seed oils,
Saturated fats,
from like dairy and
junk food, potato chips, all these things, Now in the media, finally, the concept of ultra-processed foods has come out and is being looked at. When you realize that your brain is made of fat and your nerves are made of fat, then the question becomes, what kind of brain do I want?
so clearly diet is important in terms of looking at those things, but then actually supplementing the right fat might make sense for people who are really in a certain kind of state.
Right. Based on the person's diet and on the test results, we may, at this point, say you are deficient in these type of fats that are very important for your health. All of these fats, and then the phosphatidylcholine, there's so much stuff. All these are very important to be there, because if I want a home built and then the contractor comes to me and I don't give him the breaks, he's going to say, how am I going to build your homes? I don't have anything to build it with. And so those parts need to be there for the body to use them and actually build the physical body. People don't realize that I call it the body's an illusion, because it looks like we're here, but certain conditions have to be met in order for us to stay here. I mean, if I lock you in the basement and don't feed you for a month, when I come back, you're dead. Then you're very skinny and you're no longer alive. So people should realize that nutrition is no joke. And so whatever you put into the system will run with it. You may run in a good direction, but it will also run in a bad direction. So, and that's the fats. And then we can also check for toxicity, which we know we live in a very toxic world. And then there's all kinds of biochemical reactions.
And again, just sort of linking these different things you're checking. So if you see people have certain high levels of toxins, then that might be an opportunity to use supplements to decrease those.
Right, because there are supplements that are helpful for improving detoxification reactions. The biggest organ in the body is the liver, but each single cell tries to detoxify. The brain cleans itself at night. Kidneys, that's what they do for a living, right? And the gut is extremely important, because whatever happens in the intestines is directly related to what happens in the liver. This is where the microbiome science has become maybe the most important field we have right now. We say to patients, it's the microbiome that decides whether you're going to live or die. Not your grandfather from the grave anymore. Your microbiome is in charge of your life. And now, here's the good news and the bad news. The good news is that now you can do something about it. The bad news is that you need to be responsible for your own life. And depending on the person, everybody's got their story.
And to have a healthy microbiome,
that changes everything. So when we take a person through all these, then we have a clear picture of not only do they need supplements, which ones and how much. And then, of course, we apply, and then we follow them, and then we check them to make sure that, our practice is always divided in 3 phases. You come in, we call it rescue. Help, I got a problem. Then we work on that, and then we put you in a better place, and then that's where you start to heal and feel better. But we need to make sure that is now going to stay around, and we call that stabilization. So once I move you over a month or 2 or 3 to the rescue, to the stabilization phase, then we have to make sure that whatever we have achieved and gained will stay around. Once we know that that's done, then we move to maintenance. Maintenance is the art of finding out exactly what you need. So you don't take more than what you need, or you don't take enough that you need. And so this is how we do it. And the technology we have now is helping us tremendously with that.
So what about the average person out there who is doing fairly well, maybe not at the point where they need to see a doctor like you or like me, and are wondering, because I get this question all the time, Are there supplements that I should take just to maintain a healthy life? For example, what are your thoughts on taking a daily multivitamin?
For the population at large, the studies have been mixed. There have been studies saying that actually is not a good idea at all. There was one study showed that maybe there was actually an increase in mortality, although at the end of the study it wasn't statistically significant. There are studies that say that there are some advantages, but what's been lacking is any convincing evidence that there is any effect on longevity in chronic disease. Now, there were some signal on studies showing that they can help cognition, which is very interesting. But when we go back and then look at the whole history of this, already in 1936, the Congress of the United States of America was writing bills that were addressing the fact that the soil of America was depleted of nutrients. The concept of this ideal person that is healthy and has a good diet, but the reality of it is actually not that for the most people, because not only are they possibly micronutrient deficient. Now, Bruce Ames, a legend in the world of nutritional biochemistry, already 45 years ago showed that micronutrient deficiency is carcinogenic. Can be the beginning of how you develop a cancer.
That might be why one large population study, the physician study, showed that a daily multivitamin may reduce the risk of cancer to some degree.
Yes. So then the question becomes, who's healthy and doesn't need a multivitamin, in my mind? And of course, I'm skewed because I see people, most of the people I see, they have some health issues they come in for. Although I'm seeing more and more people that want health care and they want longevity, they want health, and they want quality of life, and then we take care of them. But the good news about the studies, though, is that it didn't look like there would be anything wrong happening to you if you took a multivitamin, which is important for us because, first do no harm. That's our rule. Back to the diet. So what's your diet? Well, I eat Twinkies, Coca-Cola, and pretzels. Well, maybe you should think about a multivitamin, right? Or no, I eat my fresh vegetables. I eat my food is wholesome, and that's a different story. Now, there are particular vitamin, supplements that are important. Like for instance, vitamin D stands on its own category. I mean, based on 30 years of my practice, everybody's deficient. Maybe I see 3 people in a year's time that are not on vitamin D and they have good levels in this area of the country, which is the northern climates. So there's not enough sun. So that's something that when you look at the whole entire world consensus of where your vitamin D levels should be is between, let's say now, 30 and 60.
Where do you like to see them?
50. 50 is good.
So the average person, particularly once they get into the middle decades of life, probably isn't going to get there unless they're supplementing it to some degree.
What I see is exactly that they need supplementation. Like I said, there's 3 people a year that I see that they don't need it and they don't take it.
Right.
And we test everybody. And it's been going on for 20 years in the Philadelphia area. Now, if I practice in Miami, I don't know what I would see. But also, you have to remember that 1 level of 15 SPF sunscreen destroys the creation of vitamin D from sunlight 90%.
Right. So even when people are thinking, well, I'm getting a fair amount of sunlight, they're putting on sunblock, and for good reason, but they're putting on the sunblock, and so they're not really getting any manufacturing of vitamin D in the body.
And that's happened to me, constantly. Oh, but Dr. Bazzan, I was at the show all summer. Yeah, well, your vitamin D level doesn't show that, right? So that's a special case. And so that's such an important vitamin for everything it does for the body that should be addressed.
Yeah.
And we just spoke about the multivitamin. The other thing is back to the omega-3s. A certain amount of omega-3s is too important not to be taken. And so if somebody is eating, the right amount of fats, salmon, all those fatty fishes that contain them, that's good. But if they don't, They come in with arthritis, they come in with inflammation. These are all factors that show us that there is a deficiency.
Yeah, so it sounds like two supplements that sort of emerge as a lot of people, or even most people, should be considering, again, with the advice of their physician, would be vitamin D, particularly as people get into the middle adult years, and omega-3 fatty acids.
Right. Now, to add another instance of what happens is that many medications rob people of their nutrients. It's a classic is the coenzyme Q10 that get destroyed by the statin drugs.
Right, because it shuts down production of them in the liver.
Right. Because that's how the cholesterol gets reduced. And then if you look at people on metformin, as much as we love metformin robs you of your vitamin Bs.
Right.
The reflux medications rob you of your vitamin Bs. So then there are, some hypertensive medications that rob you of zinc.
Yeah, these are really important considerations because, the average American, the average person going into those middle decades of life might be on one or more of these medications that are affecting their levels. So even if they think they're eating relatively healthy, they still might have some insufficiency in those vitamin categories.
Right. And we are always firm on the concept that the wrong diet with the supplement is not what you do. Because a supplement is a supplement.
To a good diet.
Right. A supplement is something you want to sort of give the finishing touches to something that you're already done for yourself, which is good, which is the wholesome food, which is now we're coming to realizing that the ultra-processed foods are probably one of the biggest reasons of the poor health state of the United States, on Western society.
It's such a great point. And I often wonder if that's why you get some of the mixed results when you do population-based studies, even on a multivitamin, because throwing a vitamin tablet on a terrible diet isn't going to do much.
Right. That's right. So it goes back to the way we practice, which is we go to the diet first. And like we said before, after 50, what you eat it decides what's going to happen to you.
Decides your longevity, how well you live.
You eat life, you get life. You eat death, you get death. And I go, what? Well, I say, that's exactly what's going to happen. So go and chew on this one for and then start making decisions. When we look at how it actually happens in real life, in the rescue phase, there are different ways that we can provide help. So if you come in with a gastrointestinal disorder where inflammation is very prominent, it is likely that even an oral supplement might not be absorbed correctly or enough to get inside your bloodstream and start healing your body.
So that might be a situation where you would use infusions, IV nutrients.
So happily, being medical doctors, we have the ability to use, nutritional intravenous treatments. These are very helpful to get the person back to a healthier gut, so that now we can resume the correct way of feeding, which is through the mouth and the gastrointestinal system. Then, in the beginning, you always have to sort of push, because you have to overcome. So the doses are going to be higher. And the first month, we always call the first month the most important month, is where we fix the gut and we start supplying the nutritional parts that are missing. Because of our experience in practice, we make a provisional program for the first month. So because we know that that's what you need right now. And then when the results come back, now we can do the fine tuning, exactly nutrient by nutrient. Yeah, yes, no. And then we keep them on stabilization, and then the doses begin to decrease, looking eventually to go to maintenance, where it is the lowest dose necessary for you to maintain the best health status you can achieve.
I hope our discussion today highlights the nuanced consideration we take when considering supplementation. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, which is why it's important to be weary of supplements that tout to be cure-alls or one-size-fits-all supplement plans. I'm Dr. Dan Monti. Until next time, be well.